Hey everybody, I'm Dylan. This is my 2020 Lotus Evora GT. At the time of recording this, I do still own it, but by the time I post this, it will be gone. We're gonna go over why I'm selling it, some of the issues I've had over the last 3 years of ownership. So I picked the vehicle up in Ohio. There's a Lotus dealership out in Dublin. I drove out there in my 2020 Supra. I traded it in for this. This was a brand new vehicle. They were about to go back into another winter season when I bought it in November. So they discounted it heavily. Lotus had a $7,500 rebate at the time as well if you traded in a sports car towards one of their new vehicles. So I got a really good deal on it. And that's about where the good kind of ends. So to get started, I drove the vehicle back home about 1,200 miles. During that time, the vehicle did sputter a little bit. It was still in the break-in period, which is about 1,000 miles. So I kind of assumed that was some of that. During that drive home, I also noticed that the trunk was rubbing, so it had rubbed the paint on there. Lotus did not fix that. They readjusted the trunk several times. We'll go over that as well in here. During that drive, probably in the last 300 miles, the driver's seat started to develop a very, very heavy rocking chair creaking sound. Down in the comment section, I'll post a link to a video with that creaking sound so you can hear how awful that is. We'll go ahead and dive into some of the issues that I have had. So the very first service that I took it in for was at 3,257 miles. That was March, so 5 months after I purchased it. So I took it in for the seat. It looks like they road tested, confirmed it. They removed the driver's seat. They did some stuff to the sliders and the track system, installed some tape in the tight fitting areas, removed side rail bolts and applied more grease. The trunk release was having issues as well, and I could not always get that to open. So they replaced the trunk latch, removed the striker plate, elongated the mounting surface, so they modified where the latch mounted. I also complained about the stuttering and third and fifth gear having multiple issues that would slam into gear. Later on, I also had issues with it slamming into reverse, and I reported that here as well. Looks like they were unable to duplicate, sent logs to Lotus, and Lotus provided them an update to the vehicle. During this time, I also had an issue with the cluster, and this is again in the first 3,000 miles of the vehicle, first 5 months. I had an issue with the cluster, so the instrument cluster kept freezing whenever it would do its sweep. So it would stay at 160 and the RPMs would stay pegged. That issue continued. It was not the first cluster. So they went ahead and they replaced that. They did the update for the rough driving, the slamming into gears, and the stuttering. They adjusted the trunk so that it would no longer rub and replaced the grille because it did rub through the grille as well as the paint. That was the first service, and that went from, it took them from March 7th till May 6th to return the vehicle to me, so over 2 months. All right, so that was 3,200 miles, and not but 400 miles later, the cluster went blank again. This time the LED portions were flickering and non-responsive, and then one of my paddle shifters went out, but they for some reason replaced both. So we're now on our second instrument cluster. Customer stated check engine light. They removed and cleaned the mass airflow sensor, cleaned up the connector, and replaced the zip tie. I had an issue with the car not starting, gear light illuminated. They related all of that to that mass airflow sensor issue. So they replaced that, did an update, Every time it's gone in, they've done an update. They finally replaced that grill that got scraped through. To do all that, they had the vehicle for 15 days. A couple other things in here, just some maintenance. There's an oil change, a tire that had to get replaced. I switched dealers due to some issues at the local dealership here. So I switched to one that was 3 hours away. Had a check engine light come on, car went into limp mode, it locked itself into third gear. And then the cluster broke again after this. So they replaced the cluster, they replaced another mass airflow sensor, so we're on the third mass airflow sensor and the third cluster. They had my vehicle for this service. This was September 14th. I received the car back just over 15 days later, 10/3. Mileage on this was 4,700. We're finally coming to the end of the first year here. So this is a ticket for 10/12 of 22. They had the car for 6 days. They replaced the trunk latch again, so that's trunk latch number 3. Adjusted the striker, and then they replaced the seat trim clips around the leather to hold the leather on because it was starting to peel up. This was at 5,200 miles, and this was exactly a year to date of purchasing the vehicle. They had it for 6 days. So here's our next service. So this one, I couldn't make it to the Lotus in, I'm not going to say the name. So I went to my local Lotus dealership. This one was again another cluster. So this was cluster number 4. This time, none of the digital instrumentation would work, and it did the sweep thing again and got stuck. Driver's seat still squeaking. So they disassembled the seat railing again, added more padding, this time between the carbon fiber of the seat and the railing. And then the rear latch was once again rubbing, but this time it was catching on this panel up here. So when you would open the trunk all the way, it would snap and pop that panel back. So they adjusted that. This was November 29th to December 13th. So that took them 14 days to complete that service. This one here, after multiple complaints, I emailed Lotus, the guys there, just a lot of email. And finally I got them to approve to replace the driver's seat as a whole. That was from February 17th till March 31st, and this was 6,800 miles. They replaced that seat. Lotus values that seat at $8,200. So it had a brand new seat put in. Not even 1,000 miles later, the check engine light came back on again and recalibrated the car, adjusted the sensor, or adjusted a screw on the supercharger, and then recalibrated the computer. That one took exactly a month to complete. And that was 7,600 miles. And then here we go at 8,200 miles. The paddle shifter stopped working again. So I was out on the toll road. I was having some fun. Shifted the gear. And all of a sudden it dropped into third. And it locked it there and the paddle wouldn't work. This dealership, they replaced the paddle again. So that's paddle number 2 on the passenger side. Oh, and they replaced the harness for the steering wheel. So it got a new steering wheel harness and a new paddle. This took them 15 days. So August 1st to August 17th. That was 2023. This is an email. So around that time, I finally got Lotus to agree that the car was having enough issues and the time it spent in the dealership that they agreed to offer an extended warranty of 1 year. So October of 2024, the factory warranty is going to go out on this car, but I have an extended warranty that they offered to me that goes all the way till October of 2025. just after they gave me that warranty, the car broke again in October. So August to October, I had some maintenance done. You have to replace the oil pan gate flaps. That was about $500. They dropped the oil pan. Instrument cluster was making a noise at that point. So there's a carbon fiber instrument bezel up there, and it started making noise. So they pulled that off, replaced the clips, and then again it had another check engine light while it was there. So in their hands it broke. They replaced the boost sensor. They replaced the 12 volt battery, and they replaced the interior panel, the right hand pillar on the B pillar, because it was peeling off. This was from October 2nd to November 15th, so over a month and a half. Mileage was 9,800. At the end of no. Okay, so they must have left this one open. So this RO closed 12/22. They had the vehicle for a couple weeks while they had to basically break into the trunk to get the latch. The trunk latch shut and would not open. So they had to remove the rear glass while the trunk was still attached so that they could replace that trunk latch. That's trunk latch number 4. They had the vehicle for a few weeks then. That was still just under 10,000 miles. Had some brake fluid changed. And the final service that I took the vehicle in for warranty work, there was a rattle in the dash. It was further back towards the windshield. Couldn't even drive at low speeds without it just making this popping and rattling noise. That was at 11,248 miles. That was March 26th of 2024, this year. They pulled the dash. I had to pre-authorize that they could charge me if they did not find it to be warranty. Lotus doesn't really cover squeaks and rattles under their basic warranty. So if they determined that it wasn't an actual defect, then I would be responsible for paying the dealership for that service. But what they did find was that the cutout on the left side guide pin right behind the instrument cluster, they had cut the hole wrong. So the guide pin was basically sitting there popping up and down as you drove over bumps. So they cut the firewall incorrectly at the factory. They had to basically wrap the guide pin, stick a rubber piece on it, basically to get it to fit in perfectly so that it would no longer have any kind of play in it to move. That took them about 15 days to complete. And then that brings us to 4 months later, August 2024. The car has roughly 600 miles more from the time that they fixed the dash. And once again, it has set all those check engine light codes. I was out driving it again the other day. I took it 12 miles up the street, slammed into third gear, would not shift. I quickly pulled over into the next neighborhood, cycled the ignition. I'll link a video below of what it sounded like, the idle. That's probably why you're here, is you saw the video where it sounded like it had a cam and the idle was jumping up and down. I limped it back home that last 12 miles because Lotus doesn't offer towing, and it was hot and I didn't feel like sitting there. So windows down, drove 12 miles with the car going about 40 miles an hour because that's all it would do, and it was stuck in third gear. I got home, scanned it. It's the same mass airflow sensor codes that I've had before. So there's still issues within this harness, within this engine, within the connectors, and it's causing it to have a lot of faults for the mass airflow and go into limp mode quite a bit. And I'm kind of over it. I'm done. It's been 3 years of constant driving back and forth to the dealership. In total, it's spent roughly a year in service, and it's time to part ways. So, not quite sure what I'm going to replace it with. Right now, I think I'm just going to kind of sit on the market, see what's happening. I'm looking at some BMWs. Everybody keeps recommending Porsche, but I'm definitely getting rid of this while I still can. Because right now the market's good and I'm actually not going to lose any money. So I'm going to go ahead and part ways. So when you go to see this video, when I post this, I will have sold the vehicle and I will not own it anymore. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, check the comments for some of the other videos on this vehicle that I linked.